Good afternoon. This is Brian Hodson from Descartes, and I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar on capacity matching. We have a really good set of content today, some good use cases and practical examples of how our customers are getting value from the solution. So look forward to today's session. Just a bit of housekeeping before we get started. All the attendees are on mute. So we will have some time at the end. If you have questions, feel free to, there's a Q&A dialogue. You can submit questions. We have some time at the end, which we'll address those and make sure we get everyone up to speed on any questions you have. So again, really good program today. As I said, I'm Brian Hodson. I'm on the industry solutions team here at Descartes, really working with customers and how to best leverage our technology to drive value in their businesses. So I'll be moderating today, doing a bit of introduction. And also joining us is Mark Carroll. Mark, do you want to give a bit of background?
Sure. So I've been with Descartes MacroPoint for a few years now, really specifically focused on trying to bring the capacity product to market and start driving value for our customers there. But all told, I have about a decade of industry experience, have been in logistics for, again, about 10 years in various roles, but all primarily focused around carrier sourcing, carrier relationship building, and really leveraging those relationships across a wide set of business. So hopefully that experience translates to the tool that we'll show you guys here today and help you guys do the same thing.
Excellent. So today, first we're going to start off with a bit of sort of drivers in the industry we're seeing. Things have changed. We've certainly been dynamic changes, last year and into this year. So we'll talk about that, what the impact is on freight brokers and our customers that we're seeing. Then we'll get into what the solution is, the Descartes MacroPoint Capacity Matching Platform, give a product demo, and then we'll highlight some customers that are leveraging the solution and some best practices as well. So with that, let's jump in here. So in terms of, the factors are quite complex. There's a lot of drivers really that make it a lot harder today to find really the best capacity or the right capacity and really good, strong carriers, building strong carrier relationships. As I mentioned earlier, a year ago, really was crazy with the ELD introduction and really drove to a huge capacity crunch. We're seeing a bit of that ease, but certainly the growth in the economy, I think Q4 was 2.6% gross domestic product. So we continue to see volumes increase and really driving good activity in the base. Now, what also some of the things are happening now is that are getting back and really continuing putting pressure on the transportation side by tightening. We see retailers now going back and sort of starting to tighten up delivery windows in manufacturing. Similar, really driving to more just-in-time delivery. So the service level it continues to escalate and really providing. Getting that right care, getting that capacity, delivering on your customer's expectation is increasing. And then seeing, the shift to really building a much stronger relationship with the carrier. So finding better carriers and then working with them to expand the business. And then the other piece is there's just increased volatility. And, we just finished peak season. But there's really a whole set of what we call sort of micro peaks. For example, last week's winter storm, that causes, a bunch of volatility that, as brokers you have to deal with in serving customers because it's unpredictable. So being able to quickly be agile in sort of leveraging new carriers and finding those carriers and securing that capacity for your loads is critical to the growth of your business and really serving your customers effectively. So today, when we talk to customers, finding carriers capacity is really pretty inefficient. You have your traditional, let's say, load boards. Those are excellent for sort of that same day, trying to really book that, but they don't provide sort of accurate necessarily real-time data. You have carrier portals. Think of which some carriers will be updating, but that from a carrier perspective, there's literally hundreds of portals that they could be updating. So that ends up not being really that effective to really find out where are the trucks, what's the history. If you're trying to really build a relationship with a new carrier, how do you know that their network fits with your network? If you're trying to drive a new sales opportunity, or you've just won some new business, really trying to figure out, and it's stretching you beyond, let's say, your current carrier set. It might be a new geography, a new lane, what have you. How do you do that in an agile way, in a flexible way, with data that's going to be accurate? So what we find is it ends up today being a lot of tribal knowledge, a lot of data that's housed in silos in maybe the TMS, or as I said, these other systems, or even people's heads. That going back to the tribal knowledge, but it's not really connected to what's happening, in the next day, 2 days, 3 days in the transportation, in the carrier networks. So it becomes it's really just not as efficient as it could be. So then that leads to really just pressures on your business in terms of how do you really grow profitably in a way, really scale up. There's a huge market opportunity, and really driving that with really leveraging the options of you're going to hire more people, getting those people onboarded and trained, increasing their productivity of the people. So really those are the things that we're really focused on helping our customers drive, is get that scalability, leverage the domain that you bring to the market, whether that's in a particular commodity, a particular geography, equipment type, industry, and let the sort of more manual clerical things in terms of booking and finding carriers, really try to automate that and leverage the sort of domain and sort of raise the bar in terms of the staff and what they can get done. So to compete, so in this, again, we see this as a huge opportunity. We're really looking to provide capability to find carriers more effectively, book loads more profitably. So I was speaking to a customer last week using the solution, and they basically said, look, we've been able to find carriers much more quickly than before. And not only that, the quality of the carriers is higher. They were, previously they might find carriers on load boards, and they didn't get good background data on sort of actual how they fit into the network and the lanes and the services they wanted to leverage. So they would end up, some of those carriers would at the last minute, drop their load and pick a better load, and they'd be left with really trying to book something at the last minute. So building those strong carrier relationships, and then with that, being able to find the carriers and sort of get a good quality carrier, they were booking loads earlier, sort of 2-3 days before that they were previously. So getting a better rate, and either that goes into margin, or it could be more competitive, and they can be more competitive with their customers in driving business and opportunity. And this transportation manager said, I go around to the team and make sure everyone is leveraging it, maximizing the value of it, because otherwise we're doing a disservice to our customers. So it was really great, good story. And that's really our mission, is to really provide that technology to help you guys grow. With that, I'm going to pass it to Mark. Mark, you want to jump in?
Sure. So what we'll do now is just really take you guys through the product and what we're trying to offer. We'll have a nice demo for you guys here as we get a few slides in. By all means, we're here to field questions. I'll do my best to answer them on the fly, but if I don't get to it, we'll definitely get to it at the end of the presentation. So please make sure you're taking advantage of the Q&A section. So, as we kick off this section, this is a really important slide for me to address with you guys, which is the history of what we're doing versus, kind of the disintermediation model, right? Maybe within the last 5 years, but really the last 3, we've started as an industry hearing a lot of noise around these disintermediators, right? Companies coming in, trying to use technology to book things in an automated fashion, going directly to the shipper with that information, and really essentially trying to remove or disintermediate the broker from that process. We view that as a counter to exactly what we're doing, right? Ours is more of an empowerment model. We want to give you, the LSP, the brokers of the industry, the data that makes you successful, and in turn, we'll be helping shippers by making you operate more efficiently. So our goal is very much to work with you guys continuously, whereas the disintermediation model really does look to replace. We have no intention of going directly to the shipper. Our goal really, again, is to provide you the data that will make you successful in driving carrier relationships and becoming more efficient. So what exactly is the platform that we've built? You can break it down into a couple pieces, right? And so first would be the market visualizations. What we do, and you'll see in the demo, is really take great care in visualizing data. We want to make sure that your users can consume it quickly and universally. We do that through visualizations. We have both past history that we bring into there, as well as forward-looking information, and really the goal is to try and help you guys out really quickly. The other big component of this is the capacity matching, right? That's what the tool is called, capacity matching tool. It's broken down into a couple distinct use cases. So at its core, we use AI to match capacity up against your available loads. But we don't just look at where the trucks are going to be or where they may match up. We also look at the historic behaviors of those carriers and try to best match the people who actually want the business. And through that process, we're able to help you on more than just an individual load. We're really able to help you focus in on carrier sourcing efforts and also better carrier utilization as you start using information around known carriers to expand what you know of them and use them better across other sets of business. And then finally is the capacity co-op, which is what we consider our big differentiator. We'll go more deeply into the capacity co-op, but the idea there is a network that allows you as a broker to come in and share your information with your peers and extract similar information from them in a more collaborative approach. And again, we'll go more deeply into that here in a couple slides. So again, from the visualizations, our whole goal with the system is allowing people not to read anything, right? We have a lot of data in the system, but we want to make it really easy and consumable for your users. Anytime you're putting a long list of data in front of someone's face, one of two things happens, right? Either they don't consume it, or it's subject to their interpretation. What we've done through the visualization component is take that out, right? We allow them to consume the data equally and in a great rate of speed. We do a good job of kind of painting the picture that we want them to see through these visualizations. And again, we'll show you a lot more of that as we go into the demo. So again, the core of the system is really meant to help you guys find carriers, right? It's not just about finding a carrier in a transactional load. It's about better sourcing carriers, finding information on carriers that you either already have in your network that you're not using to their full ability, or finding new carriers that are going to help you on new sets of business. We do this by sharing lane and equipment history. We can see which carriers are strong on lanes for you and really help you be more proactive with your sourcing, which is the key to this system. We also do have the ability to help you on individual loads, and we do this through an AI-based capacity matching system. So you'll see in the demo, we take a lot of data into the system, and what we do with that is we stack rank carriers that will be the best match based on their history, based on their forward-looking capacity, based on a few other components that we'll dive into to best predict who those carriers are that will end up taking your load and to make it a more efficient sourcing process. So rather than the tribal knowledge process that exists today where one of your reps says, hey, I know the right carrier to call, they go call that carrier and potentially get a yes or a no, we're taking that process out and making it more universal so that anyone can walk in and have information on which carriers are the right ones to call. And again, carrier relationships, the best way to grow a carrier relationship is by utilizing that carrier, right? Carriers tend to go back to their partners with more regularity. They go to them earlier in the chain. And so that's what we're trying to help you do with the carrier relationship and booking more loads with them. We have a platform within the tool that allows you to see multiple loads that you can offer to the carrier at the same time. And so it makes your day more efficient and makes it easier for the reps to work in a consistent flow. And then again, the final piece is the Capacity Co-op. The Capacity Co-op is voluntary. It's an opt-in network, and what it allows you to do is to come in and share your information in exchange for similar information coming back from the other members of the co-op. The first question we give this a lot of times is, hey, why would I do that, right? What's the advantage to me putting information into the system that exposes it to a larger group? The truth of the matter is, as we started interviewing companies through this process, it's highly unlikely that you use the information that's captive in your system. The percentage that you would book a carrier from A to B and then use that same truck on that same carrier from B to anywhere else in the country is only about 10 to 15% of the time. So there's a lot of waste in the network. Rather than letting that waste go completely unused, you can exchange it for much more usable information from other broker partners. The big thing with the co-op is it allows you to scale data very, very quickly. We grow our our database quickly over time. We'll dive into the numbers here in a few slides. But the idea is every time someone new joins the co-op, we get another big step up in the amount of data that we have to share and therefore for you to consume. If you look at it in how it all comes together, it's really three pieces, right? So first is your own data. We help you visualize your own data on your carriers in a more usable fashion. The second piece is coming from the Capacity Co-op, which we just discussed, where there's an exchange of data that allows you to scale your data very quickly. And then the final piece is from the carrier network. The carrier network is getting ready to launch here within the next couple months. And from the carriers, you'll be able to get even more information and start communicating in different ways with them as an entity. So let's go ahead and dive into a demo here. This is a static demo. If you on the call would like a live demo at any point in time, please feel free to reach out to us and we'll make sure to set that up with a sales rep and walk you through this in a live scenario. For these purposes, we'll stay within the slide deck. Again, the goal is what we're trying to do for you is make things a lot more visually appealing. So what we do is we visualize the available capacity for open loads. This screen is our open load screen. As you can see down at the bottom, there's a grid of available loads. That grid should look and feel very, very familiar. It's designed intentionally to be that way, right? It should look like any TMS open load board that you've ever been in, and it's meant to do that so that adoption by your users is very quick. Where we start differentiating things is in the column that says available capacity, and then as well on the map. So you can see on the map, there's some purple dots that are scattered across the country. Those are a visual representation of your loads. The multicolored heat map is a representation of available trucks that are going to be delivering into the area over the date range that you have selected. So what you can see very quickly at a quick glance is where you're going to have capacity matching up to your available loads versus where some areas that would be more difficult to cover. This is that you're seeing demo data, so it's not a live scenario, but in this scenario I can see pretty quickly Cleveland, Ohio, I've got a couple loads over there, and it seems like they're a bit on an island. There's not a lot of trucks around them, so two things are going to happen. One, I'm going to get my sourcing team to work proactively on that very quickly, and two, if my sales team is looking to take more loads out of Cleveland, I'm going to encourage them to up the rate because we have limited capacity in those areas. Where the system really starts coming to life is when I grab a load and go into it. So we've selected a load here, and it looks like we're going from Phoenix, Arizona to Cleveland, Ohio. You can see a couple key distinctions, right? So first, the map has changed to go from a summary level to an individual load level. You can see at the top there, we pull in load details, so your reps don't have to move between multiple systems. All the details on the load are there and available, depending on the integration points that you pull in. And then down at the bottom is where the data really starts coming to life. So you can see along the right-hand side of that grid, there's a lot of numbers. What happens down there is those are the statistics that we rank off of. It's things like, is there an available truck in the area? Have they done that specific lane before? How many times have they been at that origin, etc. You can see about 5 statistics down there, but there are actually hidden statistics that we calculate off of as well in order to find the ranking that we put these carriers in. So along the left-hand side of the grid, you can see a rank, ordered 1 through whatever, right, 6 in this example. We rank those carriers based off of an AI algorithm that we update every single week. And what happens is we're going to start moving carriers around, not just based on do they have a truck, yes or no, but are they the right fit? Have they done this lane frequently? How many times that they've been at that origin have they done the lane? Things like that. We're starting to bring logic to the right carrier to call. Roughly about 60% of the time, the carrier is ranked in the top 5 of our ranking algorithm. It is the carrier that ends up being booked. So we have some high success with it. And again, the key to this is it's not forcing your reps to come in and read all those statistics along the right-hand side. All they have to do is simply follow the ranking and start calling carriers. That said, there may be times where the rep is going to come and look at a different set of carriers. They may come in and search for a specific carrier. They may skip through the ranking a little bit. And the key is we want to be able to take these statistics along the right-hand side and make them visual again in another way. So what happens is, as I click on the carrier, the map's going to change. And what's going to happen is it'll show my behavior, the carrier's behavior from that origin. So they can see very quickly, this is a perfect match from Phoenix to Cleveland, and that's a good carrier for me to call. It also looks like they've got some volume going to some other places, and so maybe as I'm offering them the Cleveland load, I may want to additionally offer them, in this case, a load from Phoenix to Dallas or Phoenix to Chicago to try and take multiple bites of the apple with that carrier. So again, the idea isn't just trying to move loads transactionally. It's more than that, right? It's all about sourcing and better utilizing your carriers. This screen here is really meant to help your reps better utilize the carriers within the system. I remember the days when I was carrier rep starting out, and I'd walk in every morning, and my first 20 calls in the morning were to carriers that I knew I had relationships with. I wanted to continue to develop those relationships, and so I'd call them, and I'd ask the question, where do you have your trucks today? And I'd sit there with a big, long legal pad, and I'd write down all these trucks, and I'd try to search on the fly, but most of the time it resulted in me calling back 20 minutes later when I had a chance to take a breath and offer them loads based on the notes on my legal pad. Super inefficient and just not the best way of doing business. So what we've done here is made it easier for your reps to come in, look by carrier, and see all the matches that you have in your system to that carrier. So you can come in and organize your day a little bit differently. They can focus their calls to their carriers in the morning, but it's a lot more organized call where they can come in and offer now 5 or 10 loads at a time rather than having to scramble and react as people are telling them trucks. The beauty of this is as you pair this with the co-op, you're getting data on trucks coming in from multiple sources, and now you're getting a better picture of what that carrier does in a given day. And then the final piece, again, is being more proactive and sourcing additional carriers or better utilizing your existing carriers on new sets of business. And so what you can do is come in and search by a projected lane that you may have, as opposed to looking at an individual load. The difference at the history level is it's zoomed out a little bit, and we've done that to make the information more usable. So when you look at an individual load, you're getting very pinpoint accurate information. It's within 50 miles from that origin and 50 miles from that destination. What happens in the history is we actually go up a level to the 3-digit zip code level. It allows your reps to get a bigger picture of kind of who generally does business, and then allows them to come in and run a search to start finding carriers. So as they search for a specific lane here that they're going to enter into the system, they'll then search for it, and they'll see a very similar look and feel UI to what we saw on the individual load level. You're still going to get the list of carriers. They're still going to be ranked in an order that we believe to be correct. You're still going to have all the lane data, the lane information, everything else, but now you're seeing it from a historic level that allows your reps to come in and call and offer loads next week or 2 weeks or even months down the road as you're looking to build contractual relationships with carriers that aren't just looking for transactional one-off business. So the question really is why Descartes MacroPoint? Why are we going to be successful at this? And we've got some statistics to support our growth. So we've been selling for about a quarter, maybe almost 6 months at this point in time. And in that stretch, we've grown our network pretty significantly. So as we talked about the co-op, right, the big component to it is being able to scale your data very, very quickly. We have 2 million loads of annual history for the last year. That puts us on par with some very, very large brokers in terms of the data that they have to operate off of and look at. We're very proud of this number. And again, as the co-op continues to grow, this number jumps very quickly. So, if you look at a company doing about 500 loads a day, that's a couple 100,000 loads a year, and they can very quickly return on the data by exchanging those couple 100,000 for north of 2 million. And again, you can see the effect of having that data to do better sourcing. We're growing pretty quickly. We have about a 23-25% month-over-month growth rate of available trucks. We started out with a couple thousand loads a day. We're now north of 11 or 12,000 loads a day that are being handled through the system. About 75% of all the open loads that come into the system are matched in some way, shape, or form to available capacity in the industry. And then again, 20 times the statistics compared to your own data. We did this based off of kind of some average sizes of our customers. And as they pull together the data versus what's in the co-op, it becomes very clear that the exchange is equitable for everyone. We'll pass back to Brian here to talk through a little bit of the rest and then answer questions at the end.
Thanks, Mark. So yeah, in terms of, we talked about the focus and really our mission of enabling the freight broker, really driving sort of technology to help your growth. And Descartes MacroPoint's been really doing that for many years, starting with the visibility solution, and as a result has built up really strong network. 80 of the top 100 3PLs end up using our solution for visibility, and network continues to grow. We have a huge network of carriers that's actually a bit older. It's probably up to 135,000 now. On the mobile side, we introduced some innovation in the mobile application in the last 6 months, and we've seen a dramatic increase in the use of the mobile application. Again, most widely used mobile app in the segment, and really any way you measure sort of the breadth and leveraging that network for things like the co-op really is our focus is to provide that back and provide value to our customers. And some of the customers here's a sampling of some of the customers who've come on board. And one of the things that we find is the customers who've come on, they're leveraging the technology, but also learning from a process standpoint how to best use it. So I mentioned the customer I talked about earlier, finding carriers more quickly. Some of the best practices we see are one customer set up some metrics that they wanted in their TMS that would measure, how many new carriers they found, how many loads got booked through the tool versus if they didn't have the solution. Also, when they did book them and they were using a new carrier, what was the margin relative to their existing carrier base, and what was the performance. So setting up those metrics we feel is very, again, as you listen to Mark, and we're fairly data-driven, it really provided them the ability to continually improve how their team used it and focus on where they were getting payback and where there was maybe some process improvement or maybe data things that they had to clean up. So that's something the key, though. The faster you get involved, the more you're going to be learning about how to leverage the technology, leverage the data and the tools within your organization. Because it is, there's like anything, any new technology, there's a process change and adoption, and learning how to really take advantage of it to drive your business is an important element of it. Um, and then finally, we'll just close up with really, why does it make sense to do this now? In this climate, really building those carrier relationships is critical to the growth of our customers' business. Getting those relationships, really streamlining that process and improving the operations of the team. Again, we think there's a huge opportunity for our customers. There's a lot of hype and sort of talk about that disintermediation. We're firm believers in really leveraging the market expertise and the domain and the people you have, making them more efficient to be able to drive faster growth and more profitability. And again, alternatives are, could be, some of the larger players, can afford to invest in a whole bunch of, sort of custom technology. But this is a way to really leverage, Mark talked about the co-op, leverage that broader technology and the data without that huge investment, without hiring additional people. And an interesting point on the customers, as Mark said, the co-op, when people first get introduced, there is sometimes a question of, why would I share? And we offer the visualization aspects of the solution, and the co-ops is an optional piece. So there's sort of two ways that customers can engage and buy it. Not one customer has decided not to do the co-op. So as they really understand the value of it and leveraging it, and, every customer has participated. So I think that's also a good testament to the value. So that finishes our session. It looks like there's a few questions here which we will address. Again, if you have additional questions, feel free to raise them now. I'm going to start in with one of the first questions here. So I'll ask you this, Mark. What integration to the TMS is required, and do you have any pre-built integration?
Yeah, so we'll kind of talk integration broadly. So there's certainly an integration involved. The goal is to get the data into the system and consolidate it for you to utilize it across multiple workflows and visualizations. So there certainly is a requirement to integrate. Basically what happens is we export your available loads and migrate them all the way through to delivered from a status perspective. And then we also look at your active and inactive carrier list to make sure that we can put that piece of information in the system for you. We do have pre-built integrations. Depends on the platform that you're on. Some are more advanced than others, but we do certainly have pre-built integrations with several of the large TMSs. So if you're interested in learning more about where your TMS stands, we would love to talk through that with you. Typical typical integration period is a few days to get the actual integration stood up. There is some testing that's involved along the way, but the most important part of implementation is really beyond just the integration. It's the training and it's the adoption by your users. We certainly work alongside our customers to do that. We have a rep who's dedicated specifically to customer success and making sure that the users understand the tool and the value. So yeah, we're definitely holding your hand through that process.
Another question. So from a planning perspective, how long does implementation take? So what resources are required on the broker side?
Yeah, so kind of touched on that a little bit, but the integration is, again, a couple days of work. It's usually one person from your team responsible for getting the reporting done and tested. From there, again, adoption is the big piece. And really what we do is work with your team, your carrier sales team leads, and your leadership and your organization to determine what that best rollout plan is. Is it going to be a small group of employees that we work very closely with? Is it a larger group? It really depends on the individual company and how they want to do that. But again, we work hand in hand with you to make sure that everyone who will be on the system is trained properly and understands the value that's there.
Okay. And then your experience on best practices. So one of the things, and I highlighted a couple of them earlier, is being sort of, and it goes with adoption in terms of what Mark talked about, but really setting out some metrics and goals of what you expect to achieve and be able to measure that. Too often what we find in sort of technology is people will adopt it. They maybe don't have clear sort of the business goals of how to measure the success. Some of the adoption, isn't as strong in the user base, and then after X period of time, they can sort of restart and refocus. So I'd say going back, and the examples I gave were, measuring, hey, new carriers found, new bookings through the capacity that wouldn't have been booked otherwise, even time motion study of how much does it reduce, how does it increase productivity, leveraging the performance of the new carriers. So again, those are examples, but think about your operation and what are the things that are going to make the biggest impact, and then find a way to measure that. That might be the smaller team, that would be more manual. With a larger team, you really want to try to automate that in the TMS system.
Yeah, and the only other thing I'd add is, best practices are about using the tool to its full ability, right? There's information in multiple workflows like we just talked about. I think if anyone's too succinctly focused on one, they're limiting themselves from exploring the benefits of the others. So, we've really seen good success where people are working to move things days in advance. Again, we're seeing good utilization of carriers through the system. So I would encourage using the system to its full ability.
Very good. Let's see. Okay. Okay, I have Aljex. Is the integration built in, or is it the same as other TMS in pricing? I don't know, Mark, I know you were working with a number of the Aljex customers, so you want to address that a bit?
Yeah, so Aljex is obviously a close partner of Descartes MacroPoint. We have an integration built out with them. The integration does take a few days to turn on. It's a little bit less involved because it is so automated with our partnership. The tool is not included in Aljex. It is a separate product, but the integration is fully ready to be utilized. We have a number of customers who are on it and can definitely talk through that with you. It is a separate product from the TMS, but it is fully integrated as well.
Okay. I think there's maybe one more question. How does the recent industry update on cell phone providers impact with cell towers and the change in the ability to share that information? So as I talked about earlier, we've done we have a number of ways, and this is probably more associated with visibility solution, but we have a number of ways that we capture the information for visibility: ELD, carrier dispatch system, our mobile application, which doesn't involve cell phone tracking. And we've seen with some of that innovation, our mobile application has really, the adoption of that's doubled in the last few months. So we're seeing all of those other methods really increase. And we work with carriers as well. So there's a mix of that's a dynamic market, but being able to have multiple ways to connect and get that data and really getting that adoption and further expansion of the mobile app is key to continuing the success.
Yeah, and as it pertains to this tool, the cell phone data is limited use within this. Our goal is really focusing on data aggregation at a different level. And as we drive adoption of this tool through to the carrier side as well, it only increases our ability to push carriers to the app version of our product and so on and so forth. So as we continue to offer additional products, we'll see value there as well to our carrier base.
Okay, I think that's it for the questions. So first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's session. If you do have any additional questions, you can always submit them to give us a call or submit them to sales@descartes.com. And again, thank you, Mark, for presenting and providing the demo. And everyone, hey, have a great rest of the day and good rest of the week. Thanks very much.